guys, welcome to another episode of Joe Knows. Today I am going to discuss overtraining. Does it exist? And if so, what do we do about it? Apparently, I guess there's a lot of YouTube fitness celebrities and just social media influencers that a lot of them preach that there is no such thing as overtraining. So their followers just kind of blindly follow them, and they think they always have to push through and suck it up and be hardcore, and no such thing as overtraining, so just keep going. And I had that mentality most of my life as well. To this day, I'm still all about hard work. I love warehouse, garage gyms, and that blue collar kind of hardcore feel and training style. But I am here to tell you that absolutely there is a such thing as overtraining. I mean, I have lived it. You call it what you want, overdoing it, overtraining. If you follow my podcast, one of the most popular shows I've ever done was last summer, right around this time, when I had extensive blood work done. And then I recorded my follow-up visit with my nutritionist to go over the blood work, because I knew I wasn't feeling right. I was definitely feeling run down, and I was training hard, still lifting, doing cardio, but running a business, being a father, being a husband, traveling, not sleeping 3 hours a night, 4 hours a night if I was lucky. And even though I was training hard, my belly fat was getting worse, the love handles were getting worse, I was getting weaker, and I just wasn't feeling great. And sure enough, I got the extensive blood work done, and my testosterone was in the low 200s. In fact, my entire hormonal system was shot. My brain chemistry had flatlined. That was shot. I mean, it was eye-opening. And I could tell you, it wasn't until I made some changes, and now to this day, a year later, I'm as lean as I've ever been in my entire life, and as strong as I've been in my entire life at 42 years old. And a big contributing factor is I now pay very close attention to how I'm feeling and whether or not I am overtrained. Right now, I'm training 3 hard strength training workouts a week, and I would like them, my template is for them to be on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I do my aerobic work on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But depending on my readiness that day, I will tweak what I do in the gym, and I feel you should too. Especially if you are over 35 or if you are a natural lifter. That is key. And I'm not going to turn this into a steroid type of thing, but let's be honest. A lot of the YouTube fitness celebrities out there are juiced out of their friggin' mind.
Cestinone 250, Anadrol 50, and Trenbolone acetate. That combination just gives me phenomenal results.
Some of them are honest enough to admit it. Some of them are not. But just know that makes a big difference. 27-year-old kid juiced out of his mind, or even a 40, 50-year-old guy taking a lot of performance-enhancing drugs and just working out for a living, much different than the 42-year-old father of 2, husband, business owner. You get my point. So I'm not putting those people down. It's a free country. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care what you do. I have just chose a different route, and I want to help people that have maybe been misled in this area. So there's 3 things you could do to help prevent yourself from overtraining, and I'm going to go over those with you now. All right, so the first habit I would like you to get into is checking your resting heart rate first thing in the morning when you wake up. At the same time every day before you get out of bed, check your resting heart rate, either on your neck or you could do your wrist. Most of us have cell phones with stopwatches on them. Gonna start the stopwatch. For 20 seconds, I usually like to go. Count how many beats in that 20-second time period. Take that number, times it by 3, and that is your resting heart rate. So for example, this morning I got 20 beats in 20 seconds. Times that by 3, 60 beats per minute is my resting heart rate. For me, my average resting heart rate is between 60 and 66. If it is above that, and there's always going to be some variability, but I know once you start getting over, 5 or 6 beats per minute. So if I check my heart rate, I'm at 70 or 72. That's excessive training fatigue setting in, and now I'm in that state. I'm starting to get in that overtrained state, and I'll tell you what we'll do about that at the end of the video. But very important, every single day at the same time, mark it down, your resting heart rate, put it in your phone, have a little notebook on your nightstand and just write it down each day so you know what your baseline is, and then check it each morning to see where you're at. So that's number one. Number two, another thing that highly correlates with your recovery rate is your grip strength. Just like your resting heart rate, your grip strength can determine how well you have recovered from your previous training. And there is a device, I have a cheap one right here called a hand dynamometer. And these things used to be like, there's real expensive versions out there, $200-300. This right here was $22. I think I got it for on Amazon. You could get them for $15 to $20 on Amazon. You don't need a real expensive one. And what you'll do is you'll set this thing and just squeeze as hard as you can. Just like the resting heart rate, you need to kind of get your baseline. You need to see your best, what is your max, and kind of what's your range. For me, on this given device, this specific device, I've done 181 pounds. So what I want, I like to be within 95%, 93 to 95% of my best. So for me, I like to be over 170. This measures in pounds of pressure. So I know I want to be over 170 pounds of pressure. Anything lower than that, I'm not having a good day. I'm definitely not recovered from my previous training. And it's interesting because ever since I started doing this personally, when I wake up and my heart rate is elevated, if I test this, my grip strength is always down as well. So that's important information to have and to know, because I think way too many people judge their recovery solely on muscle soreness, whether or not they are sore. They'll say, no, I'm not too sore from yesterday, or I'm not too sore from 2 days ago, I'm good. And what they're forgetting is the granddaddy of them all, and that is the central nervous system. If your nervous system isn't recovered, you ain't having a good workout, you're not having a good day. And the resting heart rate and the hand dynamometer, the grip strength, give you a little bit more of a sneak peek, a little look inside the CNS, as opposed to just muscularly. And again, they're both very easy, simple, anyone can do them. And then finally, for those of you who maybe train at an athletic facility, at a gym where athletes train, if you have access to testing your vertical jump, there is also a high correlation with the vertical jump and your readiness to train as well. Again, you would need to know what your max vertical jump is, so you would have to test that. And then, real simple, go to the gym, go through a warm-up, get nice and sweaty, get warmed up. Right before you're about to train, test your vert. And again, you want to be in that 95% range, 93 to 95% of your best, in my opinion, in order to say you are recovered and prepared to train at a high level. So if you're someone who has a max vertical jump of 30 inches, you should be able to jump 28 and a half, or at least 28 on any given day. If you can't on that day, you're not having a good workout anyway. So, and that leads me into, what do we do with this information? If your heart rate is elevated, if your grip strength is down, or if your vertical jump is down, what do? You can take the day off. If you really, really feel like shit, there's definite, some merit to taking days off. But at the same time, I also don't want to contribute to the pussification of America.
The continued pussification of the American male.
To quote the great George Carlin. So I'm not going to just tell you to go home. I don't want to give people excuses just to not train. You know, that's not me. But you can train smarter. Use that information and train smarter. Let's say you have a max effort deadlift session scheduled and your heart rate is elevated, your grip strength is down. Instead of going home, you know, maybe you still go to the gym and you do a thorough warm up. You warm up a little longer, you do some foam rolling, some mobility, and you just do some accessory exercises. Or maybe you make that an aerobic day. Get some light aerobic training in, which can help speed up the recovery process. And I'm telling you, if you do that, the next day, you might come back the next day and have one of the best deadlift sessions of your life, or 2 days later. And that's what I'm saying. It's not that you're not going to train. You just might shuffle around the days. You know, just because Wednesday was your max effort deadlift day, and that's what you had scheduled, maybe you deadlift on Thursday. Maybe you deadlift on Friday. At the end of the week, if you do it this way, and you're actually training based on your readiness, I'm telling you, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, you're going to look and feel like a different person. And I could speak from experience because I have done this myself. So hopefully that helped you guys out. Some real, practical, usable tips by someone who has done it and done it with other people. So give them a try. Let me know what you think if you do give these a try. And if you have any other questions for me to answer on this Joe Knows series, don't hesitate, drop me a comment below, and I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.